All right, welcome back to MinneZona Sports Live. This has been a long time coming. This Mitch guy and myself kind of have this little beef between us and things like that. So we decided to have him on the show because we might as well just kind of talk a little bit about it and go from there. But Mitch, welcome to the show. We appreciate you coming on, and unfortunately, we have to look at that Bears gear that you have there. So,
No,
welcome.
it's not a displeasure. It's a true glory of the Chicago fan base to be able to finally impart some wisdom on the ringless Minnesota Vikings and really, take our knowledge and wisdom we have from the 80s and maybe help you guys out a little bit.
Just from the 80s, huh? All the way back then.
We tried in 2006. Peyton Manning had a different story, but
maybe more on that later. We'll see.
Yeah.
But Mitch, we kind of had this little beef going.
Apparently I was giving the wrong credit to the wrong people. Apparently.
You're right. And the thing is I wasn't the only one that worked on that project, FYI. But I heard that and I'm like, I think I should address it on Popcorn Bucket List. And, Nick said, go ahead and do it. So I said what I said. And, there's obviously I believe that I should have been mentioned because I do think you know me well enough and things like that. So I don't know why you think our Kerf doctor, our guy here on MinneZona Sports Live, did all that work, just did it all by himself magically, apparently. So, what do you have to say for yourself here? Open forum. Go ahead.
So let me firstly say that I spent a lot more time with Kerf Dog than I did with you.
That's true.
Fair enough.
And I thought that he just had that talent and he was that dog. He was that guy. He is him. And I think it had come up at a couple media club meetings that you guys you had done the voiceover, and a lot of you weren't there when I came into the program, so I just didn't know. I heard names, but I didn't put them to faces, and I obviously didn't spend the time, like I did with Kerf Dog. So
just
unfortunately, that's my big
disrespectful.
That's my big defense here. But you can't deny that the talent isn't like, if someone were to say that, he did all that, you'd be like, oh, I could see that. Mm-hmm. I think he's got that talent. Not to discredit you guys, but like he's that talented. He would have paid for the VO. Obviously voiceover, but
hey, I didn't just do the VO. I was part of the editing process. I was very highly invested, Mitch. This isn't just old. No, I'm just messing with it. But
it should be said though that to not discredit anyone, to give props where props is due. That sports documentary is what really, like I said on PBL, like it is truly what inspired me to do sports documentary and bridge that kind of storytelling with sports and make that match made in heaven type situation. And it's a great process to get into. And
right. Obviously it's a fun little back and forth that we have and whatnot, and we had a chance to kind of settle it a little bit, Mitch. Playing some that NFL game that we played on Popcorn Bucket List. Part 1 is out now. Make sure you check it out on YouTube, Omni Entertainment.
Yep.
Mitch, low scoring so far from the.
It is 0-0 going into the half. It's classic, like I said on Facebook, classic Bears Vikings. Tough defenses across the board. Monster of the Midway, Purple People Eaters, classic matchup. Can't get anything on the scoreboard, but gosh darn it, those trenches are tough to fight in.
Yeah, that's so true.
I'll give you credit. Your passing game was immaculate. I couldn't defend it. I thought you would just run it down my throat, to be honest. And I was trying to play the blitz, but it just wasn't working out, obviously.
Well, Mitch, I did throw 3 interceptions the first half. So, I mean, granted, we both had a lot of turnovers that first half.
That was riddled with turnovers.
I couldn't believe the game was just, I mean, you guys should check it out. Voldy is going to check it out too. But, part 2 comes out Friday. So make sure you guys check that out as well. And Yeah, it's a fun time.
It's a great little sub-series that Omni does. It's basically the idea of it is that we take non-strategic games and we make adults play it because it's really hard to strategize a non-strategic game.
Well, let's get into sports here, obviously.
Yep.
So Mitch, you are a Chicago Bears fan.
Through and through.
Yeah. You know, how did you become a Chicago Bears fan? And my second part is, are you from Chicago per se, or what is the connection that you have if you're not from Chicago? What do you get?
Yep. So I'm not from Chicago, South Dakota, born and raised. It's two parts kind of how I became a Bears fan. Back when I was like 12, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And the only starting quarterback in the NFL at the time was Jay Cutler for the Bears. He had, I think it was like 2 or 3 years out, or no, 2 years maybe, from him being traded from the Broncos over to the Bears. The Broncos and the Bears did that kind of flop for Orton and Cutler. And then, so that's the first part. That's what I was like, all right, I don't want to be a Vikings fan because I was already a Twins fan at the time. And it just wasn't
all that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have to tell you guys how that goes. And I wasn't too big into hockey or basketball yet. So I just was like, I don't want to be dual Minnesota sports. I just didn't want that. And my grandpa and uncle are big Bears fans. And my grandma has family from the Chicago area, not in Chicago, but, kind of that Illinois area down by Chicago there. So that was kind of the two pieces that kind of made it fall into place, was that my grandpa and my uncle were big Bears fans. And then also, having the only type 1 diabetic starting quarterback, I connected with that a lot. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool that someone with the same disease as I have can start in it for an NFL team. I quickly learned that maybe that stats and stuff have an influencing factor on that, but it's actually the year that the Bears played the Packers in the NFC title game, and it's the infamous clip of Cutler riding the bike in the fourth quarter, and we're down by a touchdown maybe, and we're going on quarterback number 3.
Was that the Caleb Haney game? I think that was.
Yeah.
Was that Caleb Haney?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah, it was a great year to be a Bears fan because, you make it to the NFC title game. It's like, next game is Super Bowl, baby. Let's go. I'm glad I'm a Bears fan. I picked good. And then,
and then B.J. Rodgers catching an interception and taking it to the end zone for a touchdown. Yeah.
We'll get to our our hated rival in a second here, which is this is perfect that you mentioned that. But Mitch, you look at this past season with the Bears. Obviously, you kind of know this is a rebuilding thing. You have a GM that comes in with pace, and he kind of pretty much gets rid of the old guard pretty quickly and says, "We'll build around Justin Fields." What are your thoughts on the Bears this year? What are you expecting from them
going into the season?
Going into the season, yeah. What do you got?
I have high expectations. Fields is going into year 3. Granted, he's had some coaching changes. However, going into year 2 with Eberflus being under Pace, I think Pace has done a really good job of being aggressive in a smart way. I don't love him picking up linebackers because I just don't think the way the league works nowadays is linebackers are not the key defensive positions we should be focusing on. We should be focusing on, defensive ends, corners, and safeties. I think that is much more important to a defensive unit than a linebacker. However, the linebackers we did sign and get for the prices we got them at, I think is a really good job by Pace. Made me a little sad to see Montgomery go. However, I'm a Jordan Howard, Tariq Cohen diehard. Thunder and Lightning, Joystick, and the Ground and Pound. So when we drafted Montgomery under, get to who the GM was before Pace, and then also oh gosh, I can't even remember the coach's name now.
Matt Nagy.
Nagy. There he's such a gross memory in my mind that I just kind of throw him out.
I got you. Yeah.
High expectations though. I know everyone's on the Lions this season. Not to dish on the Vikings, but
right.
they've kind of done the same thing where they kind of just gutted house a little bit, and they've kept a few key pieces, but like I wouldn't be surprised if they're gunning to get this next quarterback class because it's a good one. You should, as from a organization standpoint, you should probably play for a strong quarterback class. Not saying that Kirko Chains isn't your future, but he's run his course. I would say he's earned the money he's gotten you, or you paid him.
Yeah,
definitely.
Well, let me, when you bring up Kirk, I mean, that's not just us saying that, but also, I mean, they wanted to figure out a deal, and the Vikings said, no, you're going to play out the contract, and then he's going to test free agency. So that's another thing to look at with that. You say high expectations, and I want to know what those expectations are. Are you saying playoffs? Are you saying they're going to win the division? What are you thinking? I mean, record wise, too. What do you think?
So I don't think here's where the optimism and the realism have to come in. Right? As a Bears fan, die hard, I want them to win the North. Maybe get like a second or third seed in the NFC because the NFC is much weaker compared to the AFC. I mean, the NFC's got the Eagles and the 49ers. That's the two powerhouses. Otherwise, it's realistically anyone's division.
Yep.
Like anyone from the NFC could really try to push for that spot as long as you maybe come up on a unhealthy 49ers or, Hurts goes into the season, gets hurt like week 10, and it's an injury that like you can't make it back in time for the playoffs. So, which is unfortunate because Hurts is an amazing quarterback. And
he is.
Yeah.
But injuries like that happen throughout the season. So when you're only talking 2 NFC teams that you have to get through, division's kind of wide open. It's anyone's chance to play, whether it's the Bengals, the Ravens, the Chiefs, Bills, any of those AFC teams. So that's why I'm kind of high on them. Before we traded away the number 1 pick, I was very nervous. We were going to keep it, and we were going to draft Stroud. I was worried that decision was that was the deal breaker between me being in love with Pace or being like, it's just like another Bears GM. Because it honestly, Fields wasn't drafted under Pace. So I thought Pace was going to have this ego about him and being like, he's not my guy. I don't want him, get him out of the building. But he, sucked it up and being like, hey, he's a talented quarterback. And I believe so. I know he's much more of a fantasy quarterback than an actual technical. You draft him for fantasy and you just hope he makes the Bears work. But for him to buy in on Fields is a big statement. And I think a good confidence booster for Fields, because up until this point, just that week 1 game against San Francisco, that's the only shining light that dude has had with Chicago. There's he's got great 50, 60 yard run plays that he just takes off in the pocket from. But
you mentioned this guy, and I'll be honest with you, Mitch, I've never been really that high on him. But let's talk about Justin Fields. He's going into year 3, like you said, and you said, obviously he's got the, fantasy quarterback. He can run it, but can he throw it? And we've seen those games where he has been piss poor bad. And obviously what the Bears did last year, I feel like, is they kind of kept him more involved with the run game, which is great. I mean, don't get me wrong. They improved almost dramatically when he was, running all over defenses and things like that. I mean, even Mike McDaniel was like, stop running all over my defense type of thing. So you talk about, the year 3. I mean, let's just say Justin does not take that step. Is Pace going to start looking at options after this season, things like that? But if he improves, if he's like, I think we see something there. I mean, he has to have a breakout year, and there's people even going too far to say as he could win MVP, and it's like, let's not go that far.
Yikes.
So I asked this of you, Mitch, and then Voldy, I want you to chime in on this too. But this is an absolutely prove it year for Justin Fields, wouldn't you say, Mitch?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like before the discussion of like, oh, he doesn't have an offensive line, he doesn't have hardly any weapons. And I allowed that because let's be real. Darnell Mooney is a great receiver, but he's no number 1. And arguably he's tough number 2. Like he can be a great number 2, but that number 1's got to be a number 1. So I think with what we've assembled, now 3 years down the road, I don't know how this group is gonna look, just with cap and everything and money and whatnot, because everyone's gonna want to get paid. However, I think DJ Moore being the tall receiver he is, his speed, his ability to catch the ball, Claypool with, similar build, just tall, speedy, and then Mooney on whether he's, if you have to cover those two on top of Kmet, and then you're looking for a running back out of the backfield, Claypool's going to get one-on-one coverage, and I would love Claypool to get one-on-one coverage for 50% of the snaps he's in on, because that dude is a speedster. So as long as people are single covering him, Fields has worked with Mooney for the entire time he's been in Chicago. So I don't see why that relationship doesn't take its next step. And I think that's why I'm very confident. And you got to remember that the last 2 seasons, Justin hasn't had very good wide receiver core, and his offensive line hasn't been that good. So naturally, he's just going to have to gravitate towards running the football and just having to be that run threat, similar to like Lamar Jackson or even Jalen Hurts for that. Now, he doesn't have the offensive line like Philadelphia does. But I would argue his weapons are better. So I think he takes that pocket pressure or that pocket passer leap that he needs to, and that elevates the Bears franchise just as a whole, like altogether. He's going to make, iron, or is it iron sharpens iron or steel sharpens steel? Whatever that saying is.
Either or.
Yeah, either or. They're playing against a passing running threat like I think the Bears are. That defense is going to be ready for a Philadelphia type team that not a lot of teams are, I think, ready for. I mean, we saw it last season. Everyone was scared to play the Eagles, and rightfully so either. I mean, they make it to the Super Bowl and everything. So I think that's why I'm so high. I think they have everything they need. And every sportscaster, every analyst, everyone is like, it just comes down to whether Fields can play or not. And being a Buckeye, I think he can come up and clutch it out. I know they don't have the greatest track record, but I would take Fields in this situation over someone like CJ Stroud or any of the rookie quarterbacks who are in this class. I was very happy that we stuck with Fields and we were able to make a trade with Carolina. And to answer the back end of that question, if Fields doesn't take that leap, I know a lot of people think the Panthers are going to do well this season. I think they need 1 year to figure things out. So hopefully that first round pick that they traded us for next year is a high pick, and we can go out and get our guy if Fields doesn't for some reason work out.
So it's almost like there's a contingency plan, which is actually pretty smart and Pace's mind as well. So Voldy, what do you think?
It just really comes down to a couple of things, and Mitch did bring it up too, is obviously if you can protect Justin Fields, I mean, he's certainly capable of extending plays, and especially being able to, if he feels more comfortable in the pocket, because the last couple of seasons he's just been running for his life for the most part and just trying to survive, and it hasn't really helped, especially with the coaching changes and their systems not being acclimated to his his strengths or whatever. And if you can protect him and he can gel with this receiving core, and obviously they're going to be at a stage too in their careers where they're going to be more familiar, more comfortable with each other too, because he had Claypool in the back half of last season. You've got DJ Moore coming in for his first season as well with the Bears too. So if they can build that connection early, I mean, there's certainly going to be something to at least improve upon from last season for sure. It just really all starts with if you can protect Justin Fields, because obviously he's a playmaker. He can extend plays, and is he going to be maybe at the same level as Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson? I don't know. We'll have to see on that. But it really starts if that offensive line can come together and at least provide him that comfortability in the pocket. He could make some noise here this season and definitely make that next leap forward.
Who's the better quarterback, Daniel Jones or Justin Fields?
Oh boy.
Right now?
Right now?
That is actually a really good question.
That is a very tough question. At least in my mind, it is. For sure.
Me too. I'd go Justin. I would too, just because I think Daniel Jones is. I don't think he's that good, and people make him out to be this franchise, and the money that
because he's in New York. That's why.
Right, and that
does one thing right. I mean, he wipes his butt right, and he's on the front page of the news. That's just how it works in New York.
Did Justin Fields ever trip on the 13-yard line as he was running in for a clear cut 6 points?
Exactly. Yeah, you got a point, Mitch. You definitely got a point, and obviously, if you watch the playoff game versus the Vikings. You thought that he was a Pro Bowl quarterback, for goodness sake, and throwing all over the place, running. Obviously, you can't have that happen again next year, but we'll get to that in a second. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. And thankfully for all of us here in this chat, Rodgers is out of the division, so claps out.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Yes, clap. If we had shots, I would say let's take a toast.
Right.
Thank God.
Toast, right. Mitch, obviously the I own you stuff, the blah blah, all that banter, blah blah blah. Now that he's gone, can your Bears finally beat the Green Bay Packers this year? What do you got?
Yes. Absolutely. I don't know how else to tell you. Do you think Jordan Love is going to do the same thing that Aaron Rodgers has been doing since 2008?
It's unlikely.
No. Very unlikely. This dude has sat behind him for the past 3 seasons, but we've seen him start a couple games where Rodgers, had to, had some injury issues and had to sit out, and he's gotten better every time he's had to start. But that doesn't mean that he's Aaron Rodgers. I don't think there's a single quarterback in the NFL that is ever going to be Aaron Rodgers. The thing that I always said about Rodgers is I hate him. I absolutely despise him. He is cocky. He's arrogant. But the thing, you got to respect him because he can back it up.
Yeah.
I remember, I think it was 2017. He was playing in Detroit. And they were down by 5 or 6 points, and he just launched it from his 30.
Oh, yeah.
Thursday night game, touchdown, last few seconds, game over. Packers win. And that's when Detroit was just terrible. Just a god-awful, underside of the NFL. No, everyone's like, oh, you're playing the Lions? That's a W. Mm-hmm. So, the dude can just do stuff that no other quarterback. I think Nick has mentioned this, but he has signed a deal with the devil to be just amazing at football and pull out immaculate moments in obscene ways. But he does it. So you have to respect the guy. I'm just glad he's out of the NFC North and he's out of the NFC altogether. We don't have to play him until the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
So, and that's even if the Jets make it that far. He's got a way tougher road in the AFC now. He's going to be praying that he could go back to the NFC North, where he played the Vikings, the Lions, and the Bears twice a year.
Right. So,
Just beautiful. I was so happy that I was worried that they weren't going to get it done. I thought the Packers were just going to be like, no, we're keeping him.
Right.
We can't get what we want for him. That's too bad. I'm like, no, please get rid of him. Please,
we're taking our ball and we're going home.
Yeah. I don't need another I own you season. Please.
Yeah.
I'm just glad the Bears don't play the Jets. I'm glad
seriously.
that rotation didn't work out like that. That would have been terrible.
I bet. Well, the good news is neither of us or neither team has to face some Vikings or Bears. Thank goodness.
Let me ask you this: as a Vikings fan, would you guys be ready for Aaron Rodgers to be in the purple and gold, playing in the bank?
No.
And
the reason why,
can't put myself through that again.
I was just thinking when you mentioned that about, the whole like Favre deal and whatnot, I feel like this is a little bit different. If they were to get Rodgers, I wouldn't be as excited, because I'm just like, I just don't like the guy, And the thing is here, my opinion would change if he's holding up Lombardi with
purple and gold. Yes,
that would change. But I just don't think it's a good idea, and I feel like, I don't know if they would welcome him in with open arms. That's the thing. And as they did with Favre, because we kind of did, and then, but here's the thing. That'll piss off Green Bay fans even more,
I was going to say, is it worth pissing off Green Bay fans? Because that's always a riot. When you can just make Packers fans just squirm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like right now, this season's going to be beautiful. I'm like, oh, where's your beloved savior, Mr. 12?
Yeah.
Mr. Discount Double Check. Where's that guy at? Oh, you have Jordan Love now?
Yeah, exactly.
Good luck. I hope it'd be such a beauty if they ended up with the #1 overall pick next season.
That'd be interesting.
That it would, yes.
Oh man, but let's just say this: he's out of the division. The Packers, I could see as the cellar dwellers, as I think it would be a nice little tidbit there. But last thing before you go, Mitch. I mean, are you scared of the Vikings this year? I mean, you should be. I mean, yeah, we don't have Dalvin Cook. Yeah, we just got another solid wide receiver. Our defense is revamped. We got rid of Ed Donatello. Just kidding. Ed Donatel. And put in Brian Flores. Are you fearing the Vikings this year, Mitch?
Here's how it's going to go down.
Okay.
So that's a yes. Hesitation is yes.
Yeah. We'll split. We'll split with you. We'll each win our home games. When we go to US Bank, it'll be tough because you guys have a tough environment there with the horn, and it's a very nice. I haven't been inside, but obviously I've seen lots of pictures and videos, and it's very, very nice there. So I think it's a tough environment to play in at US Bank. But I think as long as we have Soldier Field still, which I think we will, Kirk just struggles there. And if it's I don't think it's a Monday night game, but if it is a Monday night game,
I think it is.
It's a win.
Of course it is.
I know it always happens, but the last few times he's had their number. But the thing is any
Monday
time
night
at
game
Soldier Field,
Halloween.
I don't know.
When it usually is.
Right, Voldy, we talk about this on the show a lot. I don't know what it is, but there's something that happens when the Vikings go to Soldier Field and they just play awful, just absolutely awful. Even when they win, it's an ugly win. And we never really have that, they never play well and whatnot. I don't know what it is.
I don't like how much hype is around the Lions. I think, Dan Campbell's an amazing coach. Don't get me wrong. but you gotta remember who their quarterback is.
True.
It's Jared Goff.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Jared Goff is a bad quarterback, but
Right.
it took Sean McVay to make him a decent quarterback.
Sure.
And Sean McVay is a offensive guru, and he was surrounded by weapons when he was in LA. Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, for a while. Who was the running back there for a while?
Todd Gurley.
Yeah.
For a hot minute.
Yeah, for a hot minute, and then fizzled out. But
Yep.
At one point, he had like 5 offensive weapons that just how could he not fail? You had to be like Andy Dalton to make this bad. And Andy Dalton, not Cincinnati Andy Dalton. I don't want to trash him too hard.
Sure. I mean, having Jamal Williams too, I feel like really helped them last year. I mean, he had
and then
what?
they go and trade him. And then they'll draft another rookie running back? Like, that makes no sense.
That's why I feel like this is a Detroit. Hopefully maybe this year it's a Detroit collapse, which we've all seen. I mean, trust me, it could be worse for both of our teams.
I don't know why every analyst, every reporter thinks, oh, the Lions, they're the team. They're the team to take the North this year. I'm like, what?
Can we at least bring up the fact as well that their top receiver that could potentially be in Jameson Williams has more trouble off the field than actually being on the field in the
He's
first place?
suspended. Yeah.
Yeah,
first part of the
exactly.
season.
That's
That's insane.
Crazy.
Classic Detroit. They're just like, Detroit's Vegas is paying everyone off, and everyone's like, Detroit's amazing. Let's just sweep all this under the rug, and Detroit's amazing, and they're gonna win the North. Okay, sure. I'll take my Bears to win the North plus 500. Heck yeah, I'll take that bet. Heck yeah.
Well, we'll have to see. I mean, honestly, I feel like there's a lot of uncertainty within the division this season. So, we'll
it's a very wide open division.
It is, and you're right. It is, yeah. So we'll have to see. But Mitch, it was a pleasure talking with you. What we always do with our guests that come on here, I know you're a Chicago fan and whatnot, but we do have MinneZona merch if you are interested. I know you got a couple stickers that we gave you from our time recording PBL for Omni Entertainment. And remember, part 2 of our game between Mitch and I, see who wins in part 2 on Friday. We have shirts. We have hats that are starting to be configured here too as well. So if you're interested in some merch, Mitch, we'd love to give you something too. So.
Oh yeah. I don't want to give up my Urlacher jersey, but I mean, for a MinneZona shirt, I'll put one on.
Yeah. Hey, Voldy's a jersey collector, so maybe work out a deal. You never know. So
make a trade.
Can make a trade, exactly. In division trade, as we like to say. So, but anyway, Mitch, again, thanks for coming on, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, you guys have a great one.
You too.